And now, it's the 2K Online Franchise Sports Report with your host Marcus Reed and Ava Turner.
All right, Chargers fans, welcome back to the 2K Online Franchise Radio Network for another deep dive. It's Week 8, December 21st. And, well, the Chargers are sitting at disappointing 2-4.
Yeah.
Going to break down what's gone wrong. Look ahead at what they need to do to turn things around.
Yeah, it's been a frustrating start for a team with a lot of talent. You look at this roster, starting with Justin Herbert. And you wonder how they've stumbled out of the gate like this.
Yeah, let's start with Herbert. His numbers, 1,432 passing yards, 13 touchdowns. Those aren't bad. QBR of 111.4 actually puts him above league average. But those 12 sacks he's taken, that's a big concern.
Yeah.
It's not just about his ability to avoid pressure. It points to some real issues with the offensive line.
Exactly. And, Herbert put up over 4,400 yards and 38 touchdowns just 2 seasons ago. And if he's not feeling comfortable in the pocket, it's going to be tough to replicate that kind of production. And we have to ask, is the offensive line scheme not working? Are they getting outmatched physically? Or is it some combination of factors?
And it's not like he has a ton of help around him right now. Ladd McConkey has been his go-to guy with almost 400 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. But who else is stepping up?
That's the key question. For this offense to really click, they need someone else to emerge as a consistent threat. Opposing defenses are keying in on McConkey, and that makes Herbert's job even harder.
Okay, so the offense has been sputtering. What about the defense?
Well, they're giving up over 23 points a game, which puts them in the bottom half of the league. That's not going to cut it. And it's not just one area that's hurting them.
They're actually doing a decent job against the run. Only giving up about 79 yards a game. That's good for 10th best in the league. But through the air, that's a different story.
Yeah, the pass rush has been practically non-existent. They've been hit hard by injuries, especially Joey Bosa missing 5 weeks. You can't underestimate the impact of losing a player of his caliber. He had 7 sacks last year. And his absence has been noticeable. Tripilotu has been solid with 2 sacks. And Derwin James Jr. is always a force on the back end. But they need more from the rest of the unit.
So are the Chargers just missing Bosa that badly? Or are there deeper issues on defense? I mean, last season, Jim Harbaugh's first year, they were a much more aggressive unit. Khalil Mack had 12 sacks, and they held opponents to just over 260 passing yards a game. That's a stark contrast to what we're seeing this year.
Yeah, there's no question that losing Bosa has been a major blow.
Yeah.
But I think there's more to it than that. The scheme seems less aggressive. The players aren't getting the same kind of pressure on the quarterback. There are times where they look hesitant, almost unsure of their assignments.
Is that on the players or the coaching? Because, this is year 2 for Harbaugh with this team. You'd think they'd be more comfortable on his system by now.
That's a fair point. Year 1, they showed flashes of being a dominant defense. But now it feels like they've taken a step back. We have to look at whether Harbaugh has made the necessary adjustments, or if the players just aren't executing at the same level. And let's not forget about their schedule.
Right. They've had a brutal start to the season. Already played the Chiefs twice and lost both games. Plus, they have that loss to the Raiders, which always stings for Chargers fans.
Definitely been a gauntlet. But the good news is that things ease up a bit down the stretch. They have a very winnable game coming up this week against the Houston Texans. You got to think that this is a must-win for the Chargers.
Absolutely. It's December 21st. The playoffs are right around the corner, and they need to start stringing some wins together if they want to have any shot at making a run.
Yeah, this Texans game is crucial, but then they have another tough stretch with games against the Broncos and Raiders again. But even with that, there are winnable games on the schedule, like the Colts. It's really going to come down to whether they can take care of business against the teams they should beat.
And, of course, getting healthy would be huge. You talked about Bosa on defense. But they've also been without J.K. Dobbins for 6 weeks now. He was averaging over 40 rushing yards a game before he went down. Getting him back would give this offense a much-needed boost.
No doubt about it. Dobbins brings a different dimension to their running game. Take some pressure off Herbert. The question is, when will they get these guys back? And even when they do return, will they be 100%? That's something to keep an eye on.
So taking all this into account, what's your outlook for the rest of the season? Can the Chargers turn things around?
It's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure. They need to show significant improvement on both sides of the ball, and they need to start winning these must-win games.
What needs to happen for them to make that playoff push? Do you think it's realistic at this point?
Honestly, it's going to take a near-perfect run from here on out. They need to find a way to generate consistent pressure on the quarterback, even without Bosa at full strength. They need to diversify their offensive attack and get more players involved.
So you're saying it's possible, but the margin for error is razor thin.
Exactly. And there's another element that we haven't touched on yet, and that's coaching. Is Jim Harbaugh getting the most out of this team?
It's interesting you bring that up because, like we mentioned before, this is his second season with the Chargers. There were definitely some positive signs last year. But this season has been a regression in a lot of ways.
We've seen coaches turn things around in their second year, but it's going to require some adjustments from Harbaugh. He needs to figure out how to maximize the talent on this roster and put them in positions to succeed.
Do you think we could see some personnel changes before the trade deadline? Maybe they shake things up and try to bring in some players who can make an immediate impact.
It's certainly a possibility. If the front office sees that this team isn't responding, they may decide to be sellers at the deadline and look toward the future. Or they could try to make a splash and go all in on this season.
That would add a whole new layer of intrigue to this season. Imagine the possibilities.
Either way, it's clear that something needs to change. The status quo isn't working.
Well, for Chargers fans listening, what stands out to you most about their season so far?
Yeah.
We've talked about the struggles on offense and defense, the difficult schedule, the key injuries, but what's been the most surprising or frustrating aspect of this season for you?
For me, it's the inconsistency. One week, they look like a team that can compete with anyone, and the next week, they look completely lost. It's like they haven't found their identity yet.
That's a great point. It's hard to get a read on this team.
And that's what makes the rest of the season so fascinating. We've laid out all the challenges facing the Chargers, but we also know they have the talent to turn things around.
It's a true crossroads for this team.
Will they find a way to overcome the obstacles in their path and make a playoff push? Or will this be another season of unfulfilled potential?
Yeah, it really does feel like a tipping point for them. The talent is there, but the results haven't followed.
Yeah, and that's the million-dollar question, right? Can they put it all together and make a run? Or will this be another year of what-ifs and disappointment?
We've covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive. Here on the 2K Online Franchise Radio Network, we've analyzed their offensive struggles, their defensive inconsistencies, that tough schedule, and those key injuries. But I think the most important takeaway is that this team is at a crossroads.
Yeah, they've got a huge game coming up against the Texans. A must-win, no doubt about it.
And after that, it's all about stringing together wins and hoping for some help from other teams in the playoff race.
It's a long shot, but you never know.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Los Angeles Chargers, we want to leave you with this. As you watch their games down the stretch, pay attention to the details. Look at how they're utilizing their players, how they're adjusting to their opponents, and how they're responding to adversity.
Yeah, and ask yourself, are they playing with urgency? Are they showing signs of improvement? Are they making the necessary adjustments to turn things around?
The answers to those questions will tell you a lot about the future of this team, whether they're a contender right now or a team on the verge of something special down the road.
It's going to be a fascinating finish to the season, and we'll be right here with you every step of the way.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep it locked on the 2K Online Franchise Radio Network for all your Chargers news and analysis.
This has been a presentation of the 2K Online Radio Network. For more information, visit our website at 2kolf.com.